This is where we'll take the horse in to get anesthetized. So this leads into our surgery room.
Ooh, that's padded, huh?
Yeah, all these recovery rooms are padded all the way around, but we'll bring them in, and we have a gate to be able to. We'll put them behind there and squeeze them up, so when we knock them down, then we can open that up, and then we put hobbles on them and have a hoist and lift them up, and it rolls on there.
And this is the OR here.
The OR. So our ORs are pretty big, but so these big doors open and the hoist rolls all the way into here, and so we'll roll the horse on the hoist, lay it on the table, and then
anything?
No, you're good. And so padded, and on this horse will be laying on its side, and so we'll change the table configuration.
And so what's the surgery today?
The surgery today is a joint scope. And so this is a 4-year-old cow horse, and we knew she had a chip in a hind ankle, and it hadn't been bothering her until just after the last show up at Tulsa. She came home and was pretty lame. And it's getting to the end of their year for a 4-year-old.
Right, yeah.
And so they're kind of transitioning into futurity year. And so good time to, that one 45 to 60 days off after this surgery.
Yeah.
So we'll take that chip out, let her recover, have her back for February whenever they have their world show.
Right on.
So good time of year to take it out. So she made it through the important shows, and then we'll go from there. But it's a little different than the human OR. We still uphold high sterile standards, but you got to remember these horses are coming in like I'll grind on the foot to try to clean it up, but we're taking an animal that's been out in the pasture or stall and bringing them in and trying to get it as clean as absolutely possible. So I can take y'all through a tour of the barn too. But this is kind of our general lameness pad. So asphalt nice and hard to be able to cover. That helps too.
Yeah.
But you can see we jog them in a circle, and you can see our little path. We've jogged enough horses where it's worn a little bit of a circle in there.
Yeah.
And then we've got a arena surface on the opposite side there, so that sometimes on the hard they're fine, in the deeper surface stretches on tendons and ligaments more, vice versa. So ICU. So it's climate controlled in the summer. We keep it 70 degrees in here. In the winter, we can keep it the same temperature. And so got 4 climate controlled ICU stalls. So all of our patients that are young, post-op colics, things that take intensive care, they come in here first.
What's here right now?
Only a baby that was born way late, had really bad legs, so it's in here. So yeah, look at this little thing. Yeah.
So
that's a way late baby.
What's the recovery? Yeah, way late.
Yeah.
What's the recovery for that?
So the legs weren't fully formed. The bones weren't whenever it was born, and so it's had issues with that. And time for the bones to fully calcify and everything.
Was it just kind of like bed rest though? Like it can't stand with it?
It can stand with the cast.
Really?
It was up just a little bit ago. And then we go out to our main barn, and we keep it's not climate controlled, but it is insulated. And so in the wintertime, we can shut it down and keep it pretty darn warm in here, because we do have a heater. We have exhaust fans to keep it cooler in the summer. Have 11 stalls here, and sometimes that's not enough, but
what do y'all do if you need an overflow? Do y'all have something else?
Well, we use outside stalls, and we've had to build panel stalls for the not as critical patients type thing, and
right on.
And then out far way back, we have 5 more climate controlled stalls, and that's isolation. That's for strangles. That's for all the contagious diseases that you don't want other horses to get exposed to. And we have it separate because if you have some contagious diseases, the state will shut the barn down if it's been in there. And so we want it separate so we can say no horses in and out of that barn. We don't want your horses to be exposed to that.
So you grew up in New Mexico, cattle ranch. When did you know, like, okay, I want to be a vet, and then I want to be an equine vet?
That's interesting. My path was I didn't always know that. My uncle is an equine vet, and my dad's a rancher, and his sister is a rancher. And so I was like, I'm just going to be a rancher, but then I was like, well, I want to do something with cattle and horses. And so I thought I wanted to be an animal nutritionist because one of my dad's cousins, her husband, is an animal nutritionist in the Panhandle. Well, then we got into animal nutrition, and I was like, luckily, one of my advisors had said, hey, you need to go pre-vet. That way, everything from there trickles down. You take the hardest classes in animal science. And so then I was like, okay, I'll apply to vet school. Took me a couple of times to get in because I didn't really pay attention to grades first few years.
Right.
And but then got in, and I was like, well, I'll go to New Mexico and be a cow and horse vet, just a large animal vet. And then I got to go into some of these big clinics.
And that was at OSU?
At OSU, at Oklahoma State. And I got to go into some of these big clinics, and a performance horse bug hit me.
Really?
It was like, I want to work on performance horses just because I think it's so cool. And whenever you get to be a little part of the team, you're watching the live stream or going to the shows, I was like, that's what I want to work on. And so I did an internship, and I didn't know I wanted to be a surgeon until I got my internship. And I did it at Oak Ridge Equine in Edmond, Oklahoma. Tons of surgery there. And I was like, this is awesome.
So you went OSU undergrad, you went to vet school, and then you went another 4 years.
Yeah, so a year internship at Oak Ridge, and it's a 3-year surgery residency at Texas A&M.
And so that last 4 was dedicated strictly for performance horses.
Yeah, and surgery. Yeah,
and surgery.
Mm-hmm. This is our patient for the day for the surgery. So what she's doing now is getting a catheter put in. That way, it's easier to administer drugs and be able to administer fluids and everything under anesthesia. So let's go make sure everything's ready, and then I think we're probably about ready to get started.
Sweet.
So we give them injectable drugs that will knock them out. That'll probably keep them out for 20 minutes, but then we'll switch to inhaled gas to keep them under. Similar to count backwards from 10 like they do in humans. Anytime, Raven. Okay. So then this tube will go in their windpipe, and we'll blow the cuff up, and that's what will allow them to.
Oh, that's how they breathe.
To breathe and secure their airway. So horses are so heavy too, when they're under anesthesia, you got to position their legs correctly so that they don't have issues with their muscles pressing on one another, or they have big nerves, and so you can actually get temporary nerve paralysis if you don't position them correct. So we really spread their legs out and really try to make them not lay on like their triceps, their radial nerve, which their triceps there, and then their femoral nerves here on the bottom legs. So
what does that part do?
it's just a grinder to get make the hoof have a lot cleaner.
Oh, I see.
Because we're gonna put some gloves and some tape around there. That way, because since we're here, I don't want any little bit of thing that we can avoid with manure and everything being on the hoof. I try to grind a bunch, just try to reduce any potential contamination anywhere we can.
Right.
Because a joint infection, since we're going in the joint, a joint infection in a horse is devastating. It could potentially they could lose their life over it if you can't get it cleared up. They'll scrub with betadine solution, so antiseptic, and then wipe off with alcohol. So,
would you say you like this more, the OR more than being out in the field, or?
No, I like going out in the field more. Even though this is what I trained so many years to do, and I do like it, but I like the connection to people. I mean, that's ultimately our business. Yes, we work on horses, but it's also a customer service industry.
Yeah.
You know, and I love horses, but I love seeing them in their environment. I know when we go to places, I know all their dogs' names, I know all their kids' names, and all that horse lives there, and it will buck and play in the stall, and that one's grumpy and put its head in the corner. You just get a more sense of their natural demeanor. And then I like watching them. I'll sneak off and watch them work a cow or watch them do whatever with it, So you get a sense of how people work too whenever they're at home, instead of, they send whoever to the clinic. And so I love going to places. So so Dr. Schwinn now has her switched over fully to gas, and that is basically breathing for her, a mixture of the gas anesthesia and oxygen.
Right on.
And we have oxygen lines that run from outside down through the hoses into there, and so pump pure oxygen in for them. So she's got her completely maintained on oxygen and inhaled anesthesia.
Dude, that's impressive how quickly, and I know y'all do this all the time, but that's impressive to see how quickly y'all just flipped over this 1,200-pound animal.
and it's asleep. Yeah.
Yes.
In veterinary medicine, we make our own packs up and everything.
Yeah.
And it comes in individual drapes and stuff, but we kind of make our own kits because everything has been adapted from human surgery. It's a lot of the same stuff, but we've got to adapt it. Like all of our drapes and stuff are all human drapes, but we got to adapt it to a horse. So we drape a little different and everything. Like that, the drape that we're going to put on the leg is for like a human leg, and so it'll have a human body that says head this way, legs this way, but we'll put it on differently to make it fit a horse better. But we kind of got to adapt. There are some things that are made for veterinarians only, but it's so expensive for a company to make just equine surgery stuff because the startup is so huge, but the market's so small. So most of our stuff we have to adapt from humans. So like all of our scopes and stuff. There's a few specialty equipment things that are made just for horses, but a lot of companies don't want to invest all of the capital into building that machine and then get to sell 300. You know, it's like they're not going to do that. So a lot of our stuff we have to adapt from human medicine. But
what's the most intense surgery you've ever done?
Probably fracture repair is probably the biggest, because you got to be, for a horse to repair a fracture, it's not like humans where they're like, we're gonna put screws and plates in your leg and then you're gonna get rolled back to your bed or anything like that. This horse then has to stand up and walk back to its stall after we fix its broken leg. And not only that, you have to be able to stand up after anesthesia, and sometimes that's not always the smoothest process in the world because they don't understand what's going on. They've been knocked out and then they've got to stand up on all four legs. And so that's always intense of, hey, we're doing major surgery on a broken bone, and then we have to have then it has to be a good enough repair to withstand them standing up. So that's always, and then intense too, you get like the colic surgeries where they're really sick, they've twisted an intestine, and then
time is of the essence.
Time is of the essence. So it's one of those things we get to, on a elective surgery like this, we get to kind of clip and scrub at just a regular pace, nothing fast. But when time is of the essence, we're hustling every second of the way on that. So this is the actual scope. This is a camera that we're going to hook to a light source, and that's what will actually go in the joint, and it'll give us a picture on there.
What are these tubes for?
The tubes are going to run sterile water, and that's what we're going to inflate the joint with and be able to see the entirety of the joint. So see, now we have an image. That will run, I can adjust the pressure in the joint by this foot pedal. Because it's so tight in the joint without increasing the fluid some way, so we put fluid in the joint. So we make just a little stab incision. That chip's going to be buried somewhere in here.
Oh, so it's buried. Do you have to like cut through that to find it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of soft tissue, and especially a chip that's been in there a while, it'll probably be in some scar tissue.
Would a chip like this show up on a pre-purchase exam?
It would, and it did.
It did?
But a lot of these chips in the back don't cause them issues. Most often. I still like to get them out. Kind of a hard spot to get to usually.
Before these scopes were a thing, would they just lay it open and go in and...
Yeah, so they had to do what's called an arthrotomy, and they would just cut into the joint and make a big giant hole and pry the joint open. That bright white piece right there, that little round circular thing, that's the chip we're looking for.
Buried in there, huh?
It's buried in there.
Yeah, I don't want to see an easy one. I'd rather see the challenging. Make you work for a little bit.
It is. It's gonna do that. That's what I could feel before, but I couldn't wrap my mind around. I've never seen one this deep in the middle. Yeah.
Really?
You know, we were talking about earlier, you learn something new every time.
Yeah.
I think it's about time to go in and try to grab that thing. Okay. We'll make sure that's all of it. Clean up a little. Anything that is kind of floating around, you want to clean it up so that it doesn't cause irritation in the future. Like this little piece. So we'll flush it out a little bit, put some antibiotics in there, and sew it up. So this is bone, that's a chip, and it's in the back of the fetlock, and I can show y'all in there on a model, but that is when they flex their fetlock, that's hitting bone on bone and smashing that, and so it's causing inflammation in there, and then whenever they're extending, it's in close to those ligaments and running on it. So just imagine you have a rock that size in your shoe, but this is just in a joint. So you have that in there, and that's smashing every time they're doing something, and so obviously gonna cause lameness. That'd be the best way to cause lameness in a human is put just a pebble that size in your shoe, and you're going to not want to run a race or do anything, you know.
Yeah.
So something very, very small can be very, very painful. And whenever
And then that's on top of it. You know, most horses could probably live with that, but you're asking them for 100%, and that's the world we deal in. Is if this horse goes and we're talking half a point or something like that, can be the difference between the finals or a paycheck or something like that. You want your horse to be 100%.
Well, that or they start compensating and creating bad habits because they're in pain.
Not wanting to train well or... So we're just gonna stitch the skin up here. And that joint capsule will close over in 48 hours. Because we can't suture something from the outside to the joint, because when we take those stitches out, it's taking bacteria from the outside to the inside of the joint. So we just stitch the skin up and let the inside of the joint heal by itself.
Have you ever stitched a human?
Yeah, I have. I've stitched myself.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. One time before surgery, I cut myself with a scalpel blade, and I was like, we need to, right on the thumb. Luckily, it's my left thumb. There was nobody else here, so I blocked it and put 4 stitches in it before surgery.
That's pretty cowboy, man.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Our vet at home in New Mexico, he cut himself really bad, and he was stitching himself, and then he was having to have the rancher tie it because he was here and he couldn't, is in the palm of his hand, and he's like, all right, when I do that, then you're just gonna tie a knot. And that guy went, and he's like, we're not tying fence, we're tying skin, is what he told him. I was there and I was like, yeah, not tying fence. I put antibiotics in the joint afterwards just to be doubly safe. That's a little extra protection. Then we'll bandage it up and she gets to go to recovery.
So what, you said 60 days-ish, but
yeah,
she gets out of here and goes to stall rest for
yeah,
2 weeks or so?
Stall rest for 2 weeks, and then stall rest with hand walking for 2 weeks, and then she can have small pin turnout. Something where they can't get too crazy on it. We're going pink. Pink on a black horse, that'll be good.
How long do y'all let them stay in there?
It usually takes them 30 minutes to an hour to wake up. So I don't like them trying to get up sooner than about 30 minutes because they're not ready to yet and they just struggle around. Minor stuff, we let them recover on their own. If they have a cast or something like that, then what we'll do is a head rope and a tail rope and help them up. So, but with minor stuff like this, they usually can wake up well on their own. Ready, go.
Dude, what did they do before y'all had these winches and all of this fun stuff?
Just do it out on the ground. But
Yeah.
But yeah, or have the hand hoist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the challenge is getting her to breathe on her own, and because she's used to us breathing for her, so as she comes out of anesthesia, she'll start breathing on her own.
What was that noise
So she has a little valve that can give her a breath of oxygen.
Oh, right on.
So we'll just supplement her until she starts breathing on her own. But yeah, let me go grab my my fetlock model and I'll show y'all.
Oh yeah, right on.
Then you can see it, she will take a breath on
There it is, huh?
her own. She did.
Look at that. Like you've done this before.
I'm a first timer.
So yeah, that's the fetlock, and this chip, it's sitting right here in the back, and so and then this flexes back and forth, and so you got that bone, and that bone, and if that gets right in between all of them, it pinches on it. So so we had to. So what we did was we went in with the scope here, and why it's hard is because this is all surrounded by joint capsule, and so you got to stick the scope and look around this corner to right here, and that's why it was and usually they're sitting right here. This one was sitting down in there, so deeper than it normally is.
So it was like hidden and around the corner.
Hidden around the corner, so had to try to get my mind right to get it around there.
Yeah.
Since the early 80s, Bluebonnet has built a reputation for safe, reliable feeds. Today, they've evolved into a company that puts the horse at the center of everything they do. Every formula for every species is backed by science, guided by in-house PhD nutritionists, and supported by a world-class team. With the horse-first philosophy, Bluebonnet helps make advanced nutrition effortless.
Daniel said his foot was hollow, sounded. Front left. Okay. You're all right. You're all right. Oh, be nice. I think we probably ought to x-ray it, so we might need a little bit of sedation. Yeah, the farrier that trims these, he said that the front of the hoof sounded hollow, and so they can, the hoof grows in two pieces, the sensitive and non-sensitive, and it's like this, and if there's stuff that gets up in there, they can get what's called white line disease.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's just a infection that goes up the hoof wall, and it'll detach the hoof from itself.
No shit. How do you test for it, and then how do you treat it?
So we'll x-ray the foot, and you'll see a gas line that's going up the hoof wall, And if that's the case, then about the only thing you can do is take the hoof wall off. Just right here is fine.
So what, do you pop a hole in it, or?
Yeah, so I literally just take a Dremel and take the hoof wall off to expose it to air.
Really?
Because it's no longer attached, so
Yeah.
they don't need it because
wow.
it's not being useful now, and it's just harboring that fungus or bacteria, and air kills it. You don't have to put anything on there after you get air to it.
Really?
But
is it painful for them in any way to get air to it?
no, it's not, because it's been exposed to some air with it being up there. But what it does, you do have to shoe them, because that's the attachment to keep the foot from falling all the way through the hoof, type of thing. So that's what'll make them painful. Is it'd be like if your fingernail's not attached very much anymore, it's better just to go ahead and take it off, you know, and then being exposed to air, it'll harden up.
Yeah, yeah.
No white line disease.
No, it's fine.
It probably wants to get a little bit, but it's not running up the hoof wall. I would just make sure Daniel takes some of that dead sole out and rafts off the toe a little bit, but the rest of it's fine. Yeah, so all looks good. I see the spot he was talking about, but yeah, and he's right when it does sound hollow, but really the only spot that I see is right there, and if he just trims that a little bit, he'll be all right. That's good. Just stay that way. You feel good enough to buck and kick, huh? Okay.
Kind of the same on that side?
Yeah. So we'll go ultrasound that and see what that looks like in there, and we'll look for
when you see that out here, what do you typically see on an ultrasound?
you'll see enlargement of the suspensory, and a lot of times. So tendons and ligaments are made up of tiny little strands all bundled into one, and so some of those strands will get injured, and so
like what we saw on that scope today, those little frayed.
yeah,
Is that what you're
similar
talking
to that.
about? Okay.
And think of a bunch of spaghetti noodles that are in a package.
Yeah.
That's all a tendon or ligament is. It's a bunch of little strands
Right.
in there, and if some of those spaghetti noodles inside that package get broken or torn, then you're going to see that on ultrasound that that's broken, or you almost have to have it, because otherwise we would say, yep, her leg hurts. I can't see inside there though, so we're
Yeah.
either going to x-ray or ultrasound everywhere we go.
Right.
So they used to be, the first one our clinic had was this big rolling monstrosity that you would never even think about leaving out of the clinic, and then now it's a glorified laptop that you just have so much more processing power. So, but yeah, that's the one we have in the clinic, and lucky enough to get to have one to go out in the field and do the same level of care
Yeah.
at the place.
Yeah.
Let's flip her around and look at the right one. There you go. Let's see it. Freeze sync. Freeze sync. Freeze save. I'll go through what we're looking at after I save some pictures here. Freeze save. And just like a rubber band, they can get stretched out. Freeze save. And
once they freeze, once they lose their stretchiness, then they just stay stretched out and kind of tear instead of. So we do two things. So that's just a wave of ultrasonographic waves, and it creates a digital picture for us to look at based on it bouncing back and being read by that probe. And we take a slice across there, think of this as a loaf of bread, and we take a bunch of different slices across there going this way, and then we slice it going this way, and so you can see it in two different planes to try to put it all together. But what we're looking at is you got two tendons that are on the very back, and then you've got the suspensory that's sitting right here like this.
Yeah.
And it should look similar to this tendon, and it's got this big old black hole in it.
What is that?
And so black on ultrasound is fluid. And so, and the brighter white, like this is a splint bone right here. So it reads, it's all shades of gray. So it reads bone is white because that wave hits there and bounces back and says this is hard. And then it goes through everything else, and it goes through fluid real easily until it hits something hard and bounces back and is read by the probe. So black is fluid, like this is a blood vessel sitting in here, so it's really black, but there's no fibers within the middle of that suspensory right there, so it's almost torn completely in half.
Really?
And you can see it gets a little better. Right here, it's a little better, but we still got that big black hole in the middle. And then same after it splits to the branches, this is fairly normal here, but it should be all the way here. And so black, black, and black. I mean, she's got really severely injured suspensory. And then when we slice it long ways, these are the same tendons we were looking at before, where we sliced it this way previously. And so that's where I get the spaghetti noodles we're looking at along there. You can see long strands, and that's what normal is. And it's pretty normal where we're slicing through long ways that part.
Yeah.
Then I roll over to the part where it was darker, and you can see a few strands here and then nothingness. So she's almost completely torn it. And same with those branches. You can see good fibers here, and then right where it attaches to the bone, it's just all gnarled scar tissue and things like that.
And so is she just a broodmare now?
She's a broodmare now.
How does that happen in a broodmare?
So it really is just a continuation. She probably injured her suspensories as a show horse, and then now just with her moving regularly. So the problem, if they ever hurt a suspensory, it never quite heals the same. And so because it needs to be stretchy, if it heals with scar tissue doesn't stretch. So it tears adjacent to it. And then it becomes not as stretchy or completely stretched out. And so every time they walk, it's micro tears.
Yeah.
And so if she ever runs and bucks and plays, she can continue injuring it. That's probably what I'm going to recommend on her is IWrap, where we can repeatedly inject that.
Will that IWrap heal that?
It'll help.
Really?
But she's probably got enough original damage in there that it's not going to ever make her, like, you'll never be able to show this mare again, but it'll give
make her comfortable.
more comfortable.
Well, I do want to thank you, though, for having us out. I think it's badass what you do day in, day out. And like to see the OR and then to see this stuff and then to see them in the show pen.
Yeah.
I think it's badass.
Yeah,
and so for
fun.
you to let me be a fly on the wall, I think is really cool. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming. It's,
Yeah.
It's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun.